We got Sergeant John Basilone, U.S. Marine Corps, Guadalcanal, 1942. August 1942, the 1st Marine Division landed on Guadalcanal, encountering stiff resistance from the Japanese defenders. Sergeant John Basilone served as a machine gun platoon sergeant in support of Company C, 1st Battalion, 7th Marines. On the night of 24 October, Sergeant Basilone's platoon occupied a key position in the battalion's offensive perimeter on a jungle ridge. Just past 21:30, the Japanese began a ferocious attack. In the dark, rainy night, intense fighting followed, and soon the machine gun unit on Basilone's right was overrun by screaming Japanese soldiers hurling grenades and firing rifles. At the same time, Basilone's machine guns started running low on ammunition. Basilone knew that the enemy that had broken through on his right were between him and the ammunition dump, but he decided that if his gun teams were not resupplied, the positions would fall. Sergeant Basilone took off his heavy, mud-caked boots, stripped himself of all unnecessary gear, and sprinted down the trail. After returning with several belts of ammunition, he set out for the unmanned machine gun pits to his right, knowing that those heavy weapons were vital tools in the defense of the ridge. When he got back to the gun positions, he found 2 unoccupied machine guns jammed and ran back to get one of his own. He ordered a team to follow him. After Basilone's gun crew reached their destination, he immediately put them into action. Basilone lay on the ground and began repairing one of the damaged weapons. Once the gun was repaired and loaded, he got behind the gun and began engaging targets. The fight raged on, and Japanese bodies began to pile up in front of the machine guns. At one point, Sergeant Basilone had to direct his Marines to push back the piles of bodies to maintain clear fields of fire. Several more times during the night, Sergeant Basilone made trips back to the command area for desperately needed ammunition. 8 separate attacks were sent against the Marines that night, and Basilone's platoon fired over 25,000 rounds. They were credited with killing an estimated 300 enemy soldiers, playing a major role in thwarting the Japanese attack. This successful defense reestablished the perimeter of the 1st Marine Division, protected the vital airfield, and led to the conquest of Guadalcanal, the first island taken from the Japanese. For his initiative, resourcefulness, and leadership in defense of the ridge, Sergeant Basilone was awarded the Medal of Honor. Lessons. Tactically, Sergeant Basilone understood his role in the defense of the ridge and the intent of the company and battalion commanders. His machine gun served a pivotal role in the company and battalion defense plan. He took numerous actions necessary to ensure his battalion's success. This included making the decision to weaken one position in order to fortify an adjacent unit's position to his right. Sergeant Basilone exhibited great leadership during the defense. He went to great lengths to provide his unit with whatever tools were necessary to maintain the defense of the ridge. His courage in braving enemy fire to deliver ammunition set an example for his Marines. Unbelievable. It's interesting when you think about they're low on ammunition, and his decision is, I'm going to go personally get the ammunition. And I can see a couple factors playing into that decision. One of them being, if we don't have ammo, we're all going to die. So it doesn't matter, I could send another guy, and I could stay here to try and help, maintain our position. But without ammunition, we're all going to die. So the number one thing we need is ammunition. And these guys know what they're doing. They got this. But without bullets, we're going to get overrun. I am going to do this. That's it's an interesting thing because, sometimes leaders got to say, okay, this is what's going on. Here's the absolutely critical task, and I'm actually just going to go do it right now. Because if it doesn't get done, we're all doomed. Taking off his boots. That's a that's a hard thing for me to think about because my feet are soft.
Man, I think every time we turned on Basilone Road, up there at Camp Pendleton, going to our ranges and training, you just think about the exploits of John Basilone. That's incredible. And I think the other thing too to think about here is these other illustrations we're looking at. I mean, obviously amazing illustrations of a junior leader, squad leader stepping up and making these calls, but the previous ones in World War I and II, you were talking about, look, vicious fighting. Obviously, people are dying and being, shot and blown up or bayoneted or whatever. But those particular charges, bonsai charges like that in Guadalcanal, like there's 0 quarters going to be given. So you're overrunning, like everyone's going to get killed. And I think, I think that was it's a different situation, and I think a lot more desperation there. You can't just throw up your hands and surrender like the Germans did to Sergeant York or Corporal York in that particular situation.
Yeah, I mean, I almost didn't even make it past the sentence. In the dark, rainy night, intense fighting followed, and soon the machine gun unit on Basilone's right was overrun by screaming Japanese soldiers hurling grenades and firing rifles. Just dark. And when you're in dark, and especially in a jungle like that and it's dark outside, and then you shoot your gun and now you've seen the muzzle flash, like you can't see anything now. Like it's dark, it's black. And so now the only thing you're hearing is screaming Japanese. They're throwing grenades, which again is ruining your night vision. You're seeing muzzle flashes, you're shooting back at muzzle flashes. Freaking just horror. It's just horror.
Yeah, that's some unbelievable heroism there. I think you're hitting on a good point though about the prioritize and execute piece, and I think we generally would say leaders don't want to be down on the details, you want to be detached, but to your point, if you in the prioritize and execute scene, if I don't go do this now, none of it matters. We have to do that, and
it's the existential priority.
Yeah.
If we don't execute this priority, we will not exist anymore. It's an existential decision, and there's only you look, and he probably said, I got this guy, he's working that gun, he can do that. There's one person that could actually make this happen right now, and it's me. I'll be back in 7 minutes with some ammo, fellas. Bazzy.